If the debacle of the United States leaving Afghanistan wasn't bad enough, the subsequent approach taken by Secretary of State Antony Blinken should send a shiver up your spine and remind you of how inept and worrisome Biden's foreign policy is turning out to be. We all saw the chaotic exit that ensued after America literally surrendered to the Taliban and hightailed it out of there, which would be funny if it wasn't so disastrous. The video of people clutching the undercarriage of an aeroplane taking off and then tragically falling to their deaths wasn't a movie, it was real. But to really get a sense of how misguided the US administration is, you only need to look at what Blinken recently said in defence of America's planned upscaling of its foreign aid to Afghanistan by an additional $64 million. There was certainly a case for financial aid as part of a nation-building program under a modern Afghani government, but now, with the Taliban in charge? Take a look at this short video clip.
We continue our intensive diplomacy with allies and partners. We initiated a statement joined by more than half the world's countries, over 100 countries, as well as the United Nations Security Council resolution, setting out the international community's expectations of a Taliban-led government. We expect the Taliban to ensure freedom of travel, to make good on its commitments on counterterrorism, to uphold the basic rights of the Afghan people, including women, girls, and minorities, to name a broadly representative permanent government, to forswear reprisals. The legitimacy and support the Taliban seeks from the international community will depend on its conduct.
So he really expects the Taliban to do all of those things? What planet is this guy living on? In case he hasn't noticed, the Taliban thugs are a tribal, murderous, lying bunch of primitive jihadists, and Blinken expects them to play by the Queensberry rules of international diplomacy? America led the world for 20 years fighting a nasty and deadly war against this mob and others like it, and after all that, is he seriously suggesting the Taliban has international legitimacy? And with that, offering more foreign aid? Yes, he said it was all to help the Afghani people, which is a very noble sentiment, and it is conditional on the Taliban changing their ways. But surely he is not that naive. Well, maybe he is. These days, left-of governments are so accommodating to their enemies that they never stand up to anyone. Where does he think all that American money is going to end up? If there are any doubts, just look around the world for some clues. You know, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and of course the PLO and Hamas in Gaza. And what is particularly worrying is that the US and the international community expect Israel to give the Palestinian Arabs the exact same legitimacy, especially with regard to Judea and Samaria. But unlike America, which is safely ensconced thousands of kilometres away, for Israel it would be a huge risk to have a Taliban-style terror state literally on its doorstep. Under poor old Joe Biden and his puppeteers, the United States has gone batty. With this lot in charge, there is indeed a lot to worry about. This is Alan Freedman for the Australian Jewish Association.